At the vast outskirts of the mountain range, countless gazes were fixed on the center of the mountains, where a massive sea of spiritual energy had collapsed. The dissolution of this sea, which had condensed the heaven and earth spiritual energy across a radius of 1,000,000 miles, released an energy that was the perfect fertilizer for this region. From now on, the concentration of spiritual energy in the Xun'er Mountains would be several times, perhaps even tenfold, what it had been. If the Xun'er sect continued to occupy this area, their rise would be terrifying. Even the Xun'er sect master might have a chance to use this abundant heaven and earth spiritual energy to break through to the earth's supreme realm. If successful, the heavenly king hall would no longer remain the foremost power of the Eight Kings region. However, at this moment, no one was concerned about such future implications. Their eyes were all fixed on the center of the collapsing sea of spiritual energy, where a figure, like a bird with broken wings, was plummeting from the sky. Even the master of the heavenly king hall, standing thousands of miles away, froze at the sight of this falling figure. It was none other than Xiao, the master of the Xun'er Hall. The Xun'er Hall had been defeated? Yet what followed was even more shocking. The rapid evaporation of the spiritual energy sea engulfed half the mountain range in a mist formed of condensed spiritual energy. Within that mist, everyone could sense a rapidly weakening presence. That presence carried an overwhelming force of flame energy, and in this battle, only two individuals cultivated such energy, Xiao and the four mystic spirit sovereign. Who had lost? Heh! It seems your side has lost after all. The master of the heavenly king hall sneered coldly at the Xun'er patriarch and the others. He was convinced that Xiao, who had only recently broken through to the earth's supreme realm, could not possibly compare to the mid-stage earth supreme power of the four mystic spirit sovereign. Moreover, Xiao's youth meant his combat experience could never match that of an older generation powerhouse like the four mystic spirit sovereign. The rapidly fading presence could only belong to Xiao. Underestimating these prodigies from the lower dimension will cost you dearly, the Xun'er patriarch responded dismissively. He pointed toward a towering figure standing on the outskirts of the spiritual energy mist, the flame emperor body, formed by Xiao's 9,000 purifying lotus avatars. If that boy had truly lost, his supreme dharmakaya would have long since dissipated. The Xun'er patriarch's words caused the master of the heavenly king hall to frown deeply as he gazed at the flame emperor body. That supreme dharmakaya seems to be running on its last fumes. Your hall master has already been defeated. Why don't you surrender? Said the heavenly fire supreme, addressing the grand elder of the Xun'er Hall. The latter, a peak of 9th grade supreme, had been evenly matched with the heavenly fire supreme just moments ago. It's too early to declare victory or defeat, the grand elder replied, his gaze locked on the mist, as if trying to determine whether it was the four mystic spirit sovereign or Xiao who had lost. He believed the odds of the latter's defeat were higher. Not far away, the third elder of the Xun'er Hall, who was battling Ling Yi, had an ominous premonition. He couldn't shake the feeling that today's events would spiral out of control. Across the heavens and earth, countless eyes were riveted on the mist, waiting for the outcome to be revealed. After dozens of breaths, the spiritual energy mist began to dissipate, gradually revealing the scene within. At first, the view was blurry, but it grew clearer with each passing moment. When everyone finally saw the situation within the mist, they froze. From afar, the master of the heavenly king hall grew visibly tense, while the Xun'er patriarch and his allies smiled faintly. Amid the drifting mist, Xiao stood in midair, his black robe fluttering in the wind. In front of him, the pale-faced four mystic spirit sovereign sat cross-legged, staring silently at Xiao. The two locked eyes for over a dozen breaths. Then, a spurt of black blood burst from the four mystic spirit sovereign's mouth. A torrent of four mystic flames erupted uncontrollably from within him, directly incinerating one of his arms. The four mystic flames flickered violently around the wound, making it impossible for him to regenerate the limb in the short term. Meanwhile, his shattered internal meridians ensured that he would be a cripple for at least a year. This was the price of failure. The world erupted in an uproar. While Xiao's earlier injuries had left the outcome uncertain, the current scene definitively marked the Xinling Hall's total defeat. Under the previous oppressive advantage, Xinling Hall actually faced defeat. You have failed. Xiao Yin stepped forward, walking through the air towards the four mystic spirit sovereigns. At this moment, their aura was so weak that they could barely maintain their levitation. You rascal, do you know who I am? As Xiao Yin approached, the four mystic spirit sovereign trembled slightly, finding it hard to accept that he had lost to a newly advanced Earth Supreme powerhouse. When he saw Xiao Yin getting closer, he couldn't help but shiver, fearing that Xiao Yin might seize the opportunity to strike while he was at his weakest due to his failed ascension. Don't try to intimidate me with your status. Where you come from has nothing to do with me. Xiao Yin replied, now within 100 yards of the four mystic spirit sovereign. At this moment, the Emperor Flame body reached its limit and automatically disintegrated, revealing Xiao Yin himself, who immediately felt a wave of weakness wash over him. Whoosh! At that moment, a massive lava figure surged through the air nearby, rapidly shrinking as it approached Xiao Yin, finally transforming into brilliant flames that surged into his body, restoring 1/3 of his depleted strength. However, the fatigue still enveloped Xiao Yin. Boom! Xiao Yin walked towards the four mystic spirit sovereign, a dazzling flame rising from his hand. Although his power was not at its peak, the might of the Emperor Flame would still be formidable. The four mystic spirit sovereign, watching in horror from a distance, wondered what Xiao Yin intended to do by summoning the Emperor Flame. I despise those who threaten others using someone's parent, Xiao Yin said coldly to the four mystic spirit sovereign. Upon learning of the troubles facing the Yuanda sect, he had rushed here in fury, one reason being that Zhejiang had taken Yirong's father hostage, trying to force him out. Zhejiang's actions stirred up unwanted memories for Xiao Yin, reminding him of how his own father had been taken hostage by the Soul Clan, pressing him relentlessly. Go! With a soft command from Xiao Yin, the Emperor Flame shot towards the four mystic spirit sovereign, rapidly forming a radiant flame ring about 10 feet in diameter around him. If the four mystic spirit sovereign showed any strange movements, Xiao Yin would detonate this flame ring without hesitation. I am one of the 12 elders of the ancient royal court, four mystic spirit sovereign. If you dare move against me, you are making an enemy of the ancient royal court. Trapped within the Emperor Flame Ring, the four mystic spirit sovereign felt some fear that Xiao Yin might explode the ring. Nonetheless, being an Earth Supreme powerhouse, he maintained his composure and spoke to Xiao Yin in a threatening tone. The four mystic spirit sovereign's self-disclosure sent shockwaves through the surroundings. Even the Yin-Yang Patriarch's eyes widened, and the Master of the Heavenly King was momentarily stunned. No one expected that this powerhouse summoned by Zhejiang would be from the ancient royal court, and one of the 12 elders no less. You can try to scare me, but don't use a sect that led the fight in the ancient world-ending war to intimidate me. Hearing the words of the four mystic spirit sovereign, Xiao Yin coldly chuckled. Back then, he had dared to confront the Soul Hall, which was guarded by Do Xun and even Do Shang, at just the peak of Do Wang. Although the ancient royal court was one of the rulers of the Relic Continent, its threat level was nowhere near that of the Soul Clan back then. Using the ancient royal court to suppress Xiao Yin was laughable. You. Hearing Xiao Yin mock him with reminders of the ancient royal court's disgraceful retreat during the world-ending war, the four mystic spirit sovereign's face flushed with rage. However, under Xiao Yan's penetrating gaze, he began to look curiously at the void not far away. A faint voice that sent a jolt through Xiao Yan's heart echoed out. I know you are reluctant to help me, and may even be pleased to see me like this, but this brat has openly humiliated the ancient royal court. Are you really just going to watch without intervening? Isn't that embarrassing? The four mystic spirit sovereigns' words stunned Xiao Yin. Could it be that there were other strong members of the ancient royal court present besides him? Or was the four mystic spirit sovereign just trying to scare him? With this thought, Xiao Yin summoned all the strength he had restored, and moments later, for Mystic Elder, this is a competition. If you expect us to help you, you might as well give up on winning. As a faint chuckle echoed, Xiao Yin noticed ripples spreading across the space a few hundred feet away, resembling the surface of water. Gradually, a figure dressed in a black robe emerged. The figure was an elder with brown hair. Although his skin appeared extremely withered, it exuded an earthy solidity. Xiao Yin could feel an aura from this elder that was even more formidable than the four mystic spirit sovereigns at their peak. A true mid-stage Earth Supreme. The Desolate Emperor. You're not quite correct. For Mystic's current state doesn't just make him give up the competition. He's already incapable of participating, came another mocking voice. Not far away, another figure appeared, a middle-aged man clad in dark robes. His aura had also reached the mid-stage Earth Supreme. What do you mean by insulting the ancient royal court? He's insulting you. Yet another figure appeared in the void. This time, it was an elder in white, carrying a large white gourd on his back. From the gourd wafted a dense aroma of wine that nearly entranced those lacking sufficient strength. Finally, the spatial ripples ceased. The gazes of countless onlookers focused on the three newly appeared figures. Each of their auras surpassed that of the four mystic spirit sovereigns, seemingly too overwhelming for even the mountain range to bear. Three mid-stage Earth Supremes. In the distance, the Yin-Yang Patriarch and others were utterly stunned. Their instincts told them that these three had been present since the beginning of the battle. They had refrained from interfering, either out of disdain or to mock the four mystic spirit sovereigns. The four mystic spirit sovereigns were among the 12 elders of the ancient royal court. The mention of competition by the three newcomers made it evident that they too were part of this elite group. Xiao Yan's single remark had drawn out three great elders. Xiao Yan's gaze grew increasingly solemn. These three mid-stage Earth Supremes were far beyond what he could currently contend with. The oppressive force they emitted, though not quite at the level of a heavenly supreme, was undeniably terrifying. Xiao Yin was certain that the combined strength of these three could rival the Luo Tiantian he had encountered upon first entering the Great Thousand Worlds. Such powerful entities were still far out of his reach, even as an Earth Supreme. Whoosh! The sudden appearance of the three great elders from the ancient royal court brought an overwhelming sense of danger to Xiao Yin. Without hesitation, he pushed his internal energy to its peak and swiftly retreated, moving several miles away in the blink of an eye. TSK, we didn't say we were going to attack you. Why so tense? The black-robed elder, known as the Desolate Emperor, chuckled while squinting his eyes. We should thank you for eliminating a competitor for us. For Mystic originally planned to break through to the mid-stage Earth Supreme in half a year. Given his preparation, he had over a 50% chance of success. But now, thanks to your pressure, he failed. Xiao Yin paused upon hearing this. Was this kind of ruthless internal competition typical of the ancient royal court? No wonder they were the first to crumble during the ancient world-ending war. A force like this, with no cohesion or sense of responsibility, existing to this day, was that not a miracle? You're from the lower dimension, aren't you, boy? The white-robed elder carrying the gourd, known as the Wine Immortal Old Ghost, and one of the 12 elders, spoke up. We don't care how you dealt with four Mystic, but insulting the ancient royal court? That, I cannot let slide. Boom. As the Wine Immortal Old Ghost's voice spread, he released an aura of mid-stage Earth Supreme. The release caused the heavens and earth within hundreds of miles to tremble violently. The land quaked, and space within miles around him distorted continuously. Countless onlookers were aghast. The Wine Immortal Old Ghost, a true Earth Supreme, displayed power that far surpassed the four mystic spirit sovereigns at their peak. Simply releasing his aura created an impact far greater than they ever could. Insult the ancient royal court? I only stated the truth, Xiao Yin retorted, even as he felt the oppressive aura bearing down on him. The terrifying power of the Wine Immortal Old Ghost was undeniable, but Xiao Yan's resolve remained unshaken. Xiao Yin had already made his preparations and was waiting for the right moment to escape. Time was on his side, and he believed that with his talent and effort, it wouldn't be long before he could face the three before him without any fear. If Wine Immortal Old Ghost and the other two insisted on pushing him too far, he would make sure to settle the score in the future. In midair, Wine Immortal Old Ghost touched the giant gourd on his back as he looked at Xiao Yin. His voice slowly spread out. In my opinion, someone your age with such accomplishments is extraordinarily gifted. Why not join me? Of course, there are benefits. I can offer you 3 million drops of supreme spiritual liquid and a supreme-grade artifact. Imph, you drunkard. So this is your plan? The man in black robes crossed his arms and sneered at Xiao. If he's offering 3 million, I'll give you 3.5 million. The murmurs in the air grew louder, and countless eyes watched the amusing scene unfolding in the middle of the mountain range. Surprisingly, instead of suppressing Xiao, the 12 elders of the ancient royal court seemed more intent on enticing him to join their ranks with generous offers. However, no one could predict what Xiaoyan's response would be. Xiao looked at Wine Immortal Old Ghost and the others in surprise, then glanced at the weakened 4 mystic spirit sovereigns. The latter was glaring at him, and the 3 elders with eyes full of murderous rage, as if ready to devour them all. Apologies, but I don't think I'm particularly interested in the ancient royal court, Xiao replied, rejecting their offers. He knew the real upheaval was about to begin. That fell apart quickly, didn't it? Wine Immortal Old Ghost sighed helplessly. His gaze at Xiao turned vicious, and the rich aroma of wine spread through the air. At the same time, an overwhelming killing intent erupted from within him. His figure vanished from where he stood. As soon as Wine Immortal Old Ghost disappeared, the space in front of Xiao distorted. Emerging from the twisted space was none other than Wine Immortal Old Ghost. He understood that a prodigy like Xiao, who had broken through the barriers of a lower dimension, would either become an ally or a threat. If he couldn't secure Xiaoyan's loyalty, he had to eliminate him before he grew too powerful to handle. This threat had to be eradicated before it could materialize. What a pity. Wine Immortal Old Ghost sighed, but his eyes turned cold as he struck at Xiaoyan's chest with his palm. The force within that strike was powerful enough to severely injure an early-stage Earth Supreme. For Xiao, who was far from his peak state, the strike was devastating. As the palm landed squarely on his chest, Xiaoyan's expression turned to shock. Boom! Wine Immortal Old Ghost's attack sent Xiao hurtling to the ground, carving a massive chasm tens of thousands of feet long. But as Wine Immortal Old Ghost stared at the scene, his expression froze. Amidst the wreckage, the figure of Xiao suddenly burst into brilliant flames, erupting in an explosion that engulfed the area within 10,000 miles in a sea of fire. It was an avatar. Wine Immortal Old Ghost immediately realized, shifting his gaze to the distant horizon. There, a figure was speeding away. It was Xiao. The one he had struck moments ago was merely Xiaoyan's 9,000 purifying lotus avatar. The other 2 elders were equally stunned. None of them had noticed when Xiao had escaped. Meanwhile, the 4 mystic spirit sovereigns sneered. If Xiao managed to escape, these 3 would have to deal with the consequences in the future. Far away, Xiao pushed his speed to the limit, leaping through space as quickly as he could. His destination was the domain of the primordial ancient dragon clan on the Relic continent. If he could reach their territory, Kai Lin and the others, who had already arrived, would surely sense him. At that point, even powerful members of the clan might step in to assist him because of his status. However, just as Xiao was preparing for another spatial jump, a chill ran through him. A spatial prison, about 100 feet in size, materialized around him, trapping him completely. Still trying to run? Ahead, the space twisted as 3 figures emerged, Wine Immortal Old Ghost and the others. Apologies, but you're a calamity we can't afford to leave alive, said the desolate emperor as he stepped forward. Boom! Under Xiaoyan's astonished gaze, a vast ocean-like surge of spiritual energy materialized behind the desolate emperor, forming a colossal black vortex of energy thousands of feet wide. At its center, resembling a black hole, it annihilated all vitality. Following closely was the emergence of an enormous figure, exuding a suffocating aura of desolation. This was the Desolation Dharmakaya, ranked 39th among the 99 Supreme Dharmakayas. It was said that when the Desolation Dharmakaya was fully unleashed, it could reduce everything within tens of thousands of miles into a lifeless wasteland. Let us send you off as well. The Wine Immortal Old Ghost exchanged a glance with the man in black, and both released their own Supreme Dharmakayas. Their Dharmakayas, equally formidable, were on par with the Desolation Dharmakaya, ranked between 35th and 40th among the Supreme Dharmakayas. Boom! 3 enormous Supreme Dharmakayas, each thousands of feet tall, unleashed their most devastating attacks under the command of the Wine Immortal Old Ghost and his companions. Their target was Xiao, trapped within the spatial prison. Inside the spatial prison, Xiao expression turned grim. The power of these 3 Supreme Dharmakayas far surpassed that of the 4 mystic spirit sovereigns he had faced earlier. Combined, their strength demanded even late Earth supreme powerhouses to take them seriously. Such overwhelming might was beyond his capacity to withstand. The destructive force crushed through the void, shrouding the spatial prison that contained Xiao. Within it, an intense wave of scorching energy suddenly erupted. Xiao steeled himself. Even in death, he vowed to make his enemies pay dearly. In the heavens and earth, countless gazes were fixed on the battle between Xiao and the 3 elders of the ancient royal court. Yet, just as everyone focused on the spatial prison surrounding Xiao, their eyes widened in shock. Even the 3 elders froze in disbelief. The devastating attacks of the 3 colossal Dharmakayas finally struck, but the spatial prison that had contained Xiao vanished in an instant, as if it had never existed. The eerie scene sent shockwaves through everyone's hearts, sparking countless questions. What happened? Where was Xiao? Buzz. Moments later, the space where Xiao had vanished began to distort, the distortion growing larger until it spanned tens of thousands of feet. The Wine Immortal Old Ghost and his 2 companions stared at the expanding distortion in horror. For reasons unknown, an overwhelming sense of impending doom gripped their hearts. This sense of threat was soon confirmed. From within the warped space emerged a titanic claw of violet gold, spanning tens of thousands of feet. It shattered the void as it descended upon the supreme Dharmakayas of the 3 elders. Simultaneously, a terrifying pressure far surpassing the Earth's supreme level engulfed the heavens and earth. It was the aura of a heavenly supreme. Retreat. Overwhelmed by the deadly threat, the 3 elders were utterly panicked. The sudden turn of events left them unable to react in time, but they could feel the undeniable power of the presence before them. It was unmistakably a true heavenly supreme. Why was the aura of a heavenly supreme emanating from Xiao's previous location? The supreme Dharmakayas of the 3 elders moved to retreat, but they were a step too late. The violet gold claw slammed into their Dharmakayas with devastating force. Gasps of shock echoed across the heavens as the 3 supreme Dharmakayas, the peak manifestations of 3 mid-stage Earth supreme powerhouses, crumbled under the impact and exploded into fragments. As their Dharmakayas were destroyed, the 3 elders coughed up blood. Silence fell over the world. In that deafening stillness, the violet gold claw slowly withdrew back into the distorted space, leaving only a voice echoing from ancient times. Dare to lay hands on someone from my mother world?